I began to notice the cameras all around me. Capturing me, following every move. No matter what I did. An endless procession of images of me, captured by an endless, faceless parade of spectators. I didn't recognize myself in the images. I looked for clues in the footage. Why was I being followed and what were they looking for? Where did the cameras come from? Who put them here? Who was controlling them all? Was there some pattern in my behavior that they were studying for clues? And clues to what? The fear quickly grew too big and expanded from my professional life into my personal life. They say to not bring your work home with you, but I didn't feel like I was given much choice in the matter. What did the images say about me? One odd side effect I began to notice was an almost fetishization of the cameras themselves. Maybe I thought that if I looked back at them for a change I could have back some of what they had taken from me. Or maybe I just liked the way they looked. I wanted to learn about the cameras. I wondered about the state of modern espionage. Did we even need agents in the field? All around us now. Little spies. Completely objective. Beholden to no one. The archivists of all of humanity. Functioning without bias or preference. I began to view myself as some sort of enemy of the state. What had I done to deserve this constant invasion of privacy and this intrusion into the thoughts of my waking life, and ultimately how could I atone and earn back my right to privacy and to be left alone to be unobserved? My whole world came to revolve around them. I couldn't leave the house without being followed by the eye of the lens. They trailed me to work each morning and made a record of my drive home each night. I decided to get a camera of my own and take back some control. Placebo or not, it was a last-ditch effort to maintain some spirit and autonomy over my own life. It felt good to see the world through my own eyes. Or at least eyes that I had chosen and not just ones chosen for me. I began looking at things differently. Unlocking vital doors of perception that allowed me to see the true parameters of my situation. If I was the mark, what was the endgame? The system was whirling forward, but there was no driver behind the wheel. If I could learn to steer, I could truly begin to see things for myself. So much remained obscured. Sometimes I would daydream and try to imagine who was watching all this footage. Was it normal men like me, or was there something that set them apart? Made them better somehow? Watchers instead of the watched. More than likely they were just regular people who found themselves in a watching position. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't see past the walls. Could barely make out the shadows even in the off moments where I could feel the breeze and the warmth of the sun. I knew if there was any hope for me at all that I would have to leave. Get away from the cameras. God sent laser streaks in the air to show me that He thought I was right and that He was on my side. I knew my luck was beginning to turn. I began to associate the cameras with my place of employment, sadly misdirecting my anger. Eventually I had to abandon my post if I was going to make headway on the real problem. I could see a way through to the other side. After I quit my job, I had plenty of time to explore my surroundings. Occasionally I would wonder if maybe there weren't cameras in my home. Maybe placed there while I was obsessing over the cameras at work. I looked around from time to time but was never able to find any evidence. Consequently, the footage, if it exists at all, remains lost. Coming to terms with my situation helped me to feel more free. But there was danger along the way. But the road wasn't safe. I couldn't shake the sensation of the camera's eye on me. After that time in my life, I liked to drive. Things began to move in a whole new way after the cameras. Spending time away from the machines was good for me. Sometimes I even forgot what the footage looked like. Forgot how I appeared on screen. I wondered which me was more real, more eternal. The me that inhabits a corporeal form will eventually perish and fall away, but the me on the footage could very well live forever on tape or some hard drive somewhere, like a ghost replaying the same movements over and over. Unthinking and technically not alive, but still animate and in motion, mimicking life and its constant undulations. When I was out among the trees, I found it hard to imagine that there were cameras lurking. It seemed oxymoronical to picture the lens and the wires amongst the foliage, transmitting a video feed to some monitor somewhere. It was far easier to imagine that I was alone in nature. Just me and the wind, the leaves and the grass. But sure enough, the fear would return, and I knew more drastic measures would have to be taken. I like to be outside away from the cameras, but I wonder if I will ever truly escape them or the impact they've had on my life. I think one day I will look back on the cameras with something like a fondness. Something like a long-lost friend.